I'm the program coordinator for the Ontario Woodlot Association and the Eastern Ontario Model Forest. And my main responsibility is to manage the Forest Certification Program, the Model Forest Certification Program, and the certificate under which our forests are certified. And so I see most people on this call I see some new names. So if anybody has any questions after, let me know. You want some context, quite happy to provide it. But our certificate was recently renewed. Our FSC certificate was recently renewed. Actually, I'm going to share. I forgot that I had a little thing here. They have a lovely picture of. Okay. So can people see that?
Yeah, we can see it, Glenn.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay. All right. And everybody can still see that. I made some changes on my end. A different document didn't pop up. It's still the.
Yeah, we can see the Eastern Ontario Forest Group slide.
Okay, good. You can't see anything else. Good. Okay. So as I was saying, that's an image of our FSC certificate that was recently renewed. So this certificate's good for another 5 years. And this one's particularly meaningful as it marks 20 years of certification for our group. The group's older, the certification program in our group, the folks who put this together, it's a little bit older than that by a few years. Took some time to obtain this certification. And I wanted to mark this important occasion. We have some important program news I just wanted to let people know about. We also have Olivia who's helping me here. That's who you've been hearing me chat with. Olivia is the OWA communications coordinator who's been incredibly helpful putting not only this together, but a whole bunch of other things that will be beneficial to our group and to certified landowners. So I'll talk about those in a minute. And so, like I said, we're marking this milestone and giving recognition to the hard work that's gone into this. And it would be a shame to let this pass unnoticed. Virtual celebrations perhaps aren't the most comfortable or most natural, but we have a wide geography, and it's important to note that there is tentative plans. And Martin, you might speak to this about something more formal and in person, more meaningful interpersonal connections this summer. And I'm sure that there'll be some additional recognitions at this meeting, but our new certificate just took effect less than a month ago. And so we're just having this short event to mark that occasion. We're going to have some comments and some feedback and history from a few people, including myself, about the program. And we're going to take a photo partway through. So what we want to do is be able to kind of show all the people that are here today as an example of what we've been up to and who's involved. So be prepared in about 10 minutes to, if you're there, show yourself on the screen. So right now is the time to grab your comb and comb your hair. And in 10 minutes, we'll ask you to turn on your camera, and we'll have a look at everybody on the call. So to start, I'd like to ask Martin Streit to say a few words. Martin, I've put your presentation into my presentation to make it easy for you.
Perfect.
And Stu, I'll answer that question at the end. I saw you had a comment there. So Martin, I'll turn it over to you. Hopefully I've put these up in the way that you intended here.
Okay. Can you hear me okay, Glenn?
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I thought Scott Davis was going to be doing this, but I think Scott found a way of convincing you to let me do this instead. So Scott, if you're on there, I'm paying attention. Anyways, I think the goal here was just to talk a little bit about history, but first I will want to say congratulations to Glenn and John. managing a certificate with as many people that we have in this certificate is no easy task. It's not like being Domtar where I had one certificate and one group of people. You guys are all over Southern Ontario. It's a feat. It's a feat to do it. So way to go, way to get the next certificate. I'm just going to take people back a few years because I think there's a lot of people on this call who are not fully familiar with how this all started. But if I take you back more than 20 years to the model forest, back in the glory days of the model forest, a really good partnership organization that was always looking forward as to what the next forestry initiative was. Certification hit the radar in the late 1990s, 2000, and the model forest did decide that that was something we needed to look at. So you've all seen the great big chart we have with all the forests and all, I don't know what, Glen, are we like 100,000 hectares now? But this is the original chart. For those of you who are interested, this is where we all started. So basically still, it was FSC back in the day, but there was really two clusters and we were working side by side. We had the model forest cluster, which was the one you're all familiar with. But at the same time, Domtar, who I worked for at the time, we were a partner in the model forest and we wanted a certificate for our forest management program as well. So even though we got two certificates, we were always working side by side. And you'll see in a minute why that ended up being really important. So that's where we were, the Lanark forest owners on the left, which Scott Davis was basically hired to put together, and the Domtar private low land program on the right. That's all it was about. Private landowners, how do we make certification affordable and accessible to all those people that were part of our model forest program? You flip ahead there. So these are just a few of the highlights of that first certificate period, and apologies if don't have it bang on. 20 years have come and gone. But in 2000 was actually when the first working group was formed by the model forest. And by the end of the year, we'd hired Scott as our coordinator. Now, Scott will tell you, he was hired as a contract and he was brave enough to jump in. It wasn't a full-time job at the time, but as you all know, Scott was able to turn that into what became a full-time job. The first policy and procedure manual that you all now have was first done in 2002. And Domtar, our program got certified in 2002. So we were a little bit ahead because we had a program. Scott's job was to actually put together a program, amalgamate landowners. He had a big job where we had one. So we actually got going in 2002. But then in 2003, all the work that Scott did, we got the model forest and the Eastern Ontario certified forest owners, primarily Lanark County landowners, certified. I think I've got this right. The first harvest was right around, it could be Bert, it could have been Ted Pritchard. Scott would know better than me, but the first harvest, so Scott had an active program going almost right away as the certificate happened. But then the real expansion started because we knew all along that to make this financially viable, we had to get community forests involved. There's a lot more area, a lot more wood being cut. So 2005, both Stormont Dundas and Glengarry and South Nation Conservation joined. And unfortunately, the Domtar pulp mill shut. But what happened is Resource Stewardship SD&G, basically Jim Hendry and Dorothy, took all those landowners that were organized under Domtar's certificate and brought them to the model forest. So you can just see we're growing. We have now a second landowner group pulled in. And then over the next 3 years, we had our first urban forest with Oakville. We had La Rose and Lanark Forest joined as well. So by the end of that first certificate, we're now looking at close to 28,000 hectares. And it really was an important growth period because we started to have some financial stability. I mean, we weren't all the way there yet, but that first 5 years was really critical. Go ahead, Glenn. This is just the other thing I think is important to put up. There was a lot of people involved early on. The Model Forest was a partnership organization and had a lot of involvement. And a lot of these people have come and gone, and I don't want to see the names forgotten. Unfortunately, there's even a couple that are actually gone on here. So just a reminder, the Model Forest, Brian, our general manager, Scott, of course, but Ray Fortune, he was the president of the Model Forest at the time, and Ray was a really strong supporter. OWA was there from the beginning. It was Lynn McIntyre and then Wade Knight were the executive directors. Domtar, obviously, I said about that. Unfortunately, two of those people, Peter Wensink, who ran our forest management program, and Wayne Young, are no longer with us. Wayne and John in particular, they weren't on the ground people. They were the guys that made it easy for all of us by navigating the corporate stuff. There's not much I can say about the Mohawks of Akwesasne. I don't think anything would have happened without Henry being participant. He was active. He was interviewed by certifiers. Henry was so supportive. I don't think any of this would have happened without Henry. And back in those days, M&R provided a ton of support. All those people there were provided for periods of time to us. John Otway, Sylvia, Eric, Kathy, Linda Tuzan did most of the work on the first policy and procedure manual, and of course, Jim. And we had the World Wildlife Fund, Lauren Johnson, and then all those FSC and Smartwood people. I think Vivian's on the call, so she's still active, but all those other people, you'll recognize Rob Keane. Rob was our first auditor. Rob worked for Smartwood as an auditor. So there's a lot of people. And a lot of people that provided good input and helped to build the program. And it's kind of created that foundation for you, Glenn, that you now have to work on. I think I'll leave it with that.
Thanks, Martin. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. I really appreciate you putting that together. Scott, did you want to put up anything? We had been chatting there about you doing something and saying a few words. You're more than welcome. What are your thoughts?
Okay, well, thanks, Glenn, and thanks for that, Martin, of all those reminders of the history there. And I forgot about a few of those folks along the way. And congratulations to the EOMF and OWA for achieving this 20-year term. And like Martin said, I signed up for an 18-month contract in 2000 and figured I'd just keep showing up until they told me not to. And I stayed for 17 years. So it was truly an awesome experience. I do have a few photos, and I know I have just a few minutes. So if it's okay, I could share my screen.
Yeah, please do that.
I don't want to. Just maybe let me know if you can see that.
It's just loading right now, but when we practiced before, it just took a minute. That's all.
Okay, so what I have is just a half a dozen photos, and just to build on some of the information that Martin provided. Just let me know when you can see that.
You're good.
Okay, so I'll just put up the original image of the model forest group, and Martin mentioned Brian, and there was, Jeff McVeigh and myself and Mary Humphreys, Elizabeth Holmes, Mark Richardson. Both of them were general managers at some point, and Mark Rossell and Randy were all a part of this sort of quest as a staff group. We were quite strong at that time. Brian Barkley was our general manager, and I'd say I was lucky enough to be in an office beside him for 17 years and hear him. And the biggest thing I remember about Brian is it didn't matter if you were a first-year college student or the assistant deputy minister, he pretty much treated and spoke to everyone in the same way. And, real fortunate to be a part of that group. Martin mentioned Ray Fortune, and of course he was our on the board of directors and chairman of the board at the time, and really was a strong promoter of the program. And Martin mentioned Kathy. I think, Martin can correct me if I'm wrong, but Kathy Nielsen seen something about the Richard Ivey School of Business and the foundation, and they supported the Forest Stewardship Council and supported the Eastern Ontario Model Forest. And she was the one which I believe brought the attention of a funding opportunity. And I think the Richard Ivey Foundation believed that there was a correlation between, they supported healthcare and forestry initiatives, and seen that correlation between healthcare and forestry. And of course, Martin and Jim were, Martin's been there since day one. Martin, I know Vivian's on the call, Wade Knight, Brian Barkley, they were all in the room when I went through the interview process, 23 years ago. And Jim succeeded me. And when I left, I said, oh, there's no way this will go on without me. And sure enough, they hired Jim Hendry, and oh, well, they'll be fine. The Eastern Ontario Certified Forest Owners, we formed this group prior to the actual certificate. And this was the 8-member group, and basically started out of Lanark County. And a lot of our workshops and information sessions were in McDonald's Corners. Whoops. And Martin was right. The first harvest was on Albert Trico's property. And it's interesting because when we met Bert, Al Corlett actually marked 20 years earlier. We harvested it in 2003 or 2002, the winter, December 2002. And it's probably ready for another harvest now. So that's, I think that's pretty neat, seeing that time span where we can see the direct results of all that good forest management early. So Rob Keane, Tom Clark, Brian, myself, and Bert in that. And the reason I was with John and Erica Dixon and Katrina and some others for lunch a few weeks ago, it kind of dawned on me because they were going through the reassessment, and we were talking the Kawartha Chapter Woodlot Association meeting we're going to have in a few weeks. And it was here at that Kemptville Winter Woodlot Conference in 2003 where we were presented with that certificate, that first certificate. Of course, there's audits. We went through plenty of audits with lots of different certifiers, lots of workshops, a lot of landowner focused workshops. We had forest practitioner workshops where we brought in all the managers of all the community forests and private landowners together to learn about new stuff like high conservation value forests. We had Indigenous workshops and had a strong relationship with the Mohawk community of Akwesasne. And like Martin said, without their support, we probably wouldn't have do it. So, I think the theme here for me is just the sort of all the people that were involved along the way. And that's our 10-year recognition. All the people and the families and the forest managers that contributed to the success. And, we all know private land forestry programs generally have a lifespan in Southern Ontario. So I'm glad to see that this one's still going strong. So that's all I have. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Scott. That was great. That was really great. So we're getting kind of halfway near getting on to the end. So what we'll do now, I warned you, we're going to do a picture. Olivia, can you take care of that, taking that picture? So if you're there, can you throw on your camera, show us your wonderful faces, and we'll do just a quick capture, and then I will I'll have John just say a few words.
Yeah, absolutely, Glenn. So I see lots of people put on their camera. Thank you. If everybody can say cheese, we'll get a quick screen grab. So cheese.
Cheese.
Cheese. And yeah, I got it there. Perfect. Hopefully no one was blinking, but there was so many people, it's hard to get those odds, but we got it. So we'll likely be sharing that to social media later.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Olivia. Really appreciate that. So you can keep it on, or you can scurry away. I know for those of us who spend a lot of time on the computer, sometimes you just want to turn that off, and that's totally fine. So I didn't see Paul come in, John, unless I missed it. But if you wanted to say a few words, John, just about the OWA and the model forest and this program, that would be great. And then I've just got a couple concluding remarks.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. Everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So yeah, I have a lot I could say, but I'll try to keep it concise. I'm just very proud of the program and of all the great things that have occurred and happened with the coming together of the Eastern Ontario Model Forest and the Ontario Woodlot Association. This to me is just the kind of the crown and the jewel in the crown. Sorry, got that backwards. It's and I'll say, quite honestly, it's low maintenance for me. Very, very capably run by you, Glenn, and the staff, and this army of volunteers and participants. It's just a fantastic program. It's the ideal program, a model program, and the foundation that was built by Scott and Martin and all the folks that were mentioned there, Jim, certainly, everybody. It's a testament to well, it really shows why, the renewal happened, and we keep building and growing on a tremendous foundation. I travel a lot now on the road, thankfully not so much in planes anymore at all with OWA. It's been great for me, but you notice things and you notice signs, and I notice a lot of FSC signs on the woodlots that I visit, and it's usually those people that are showing off and their woodlot management and are very proud of what they're doing. So they're not only OWA members, they're also FSC certified. Every time I go to Ray Bonenberg's, I see the signs and I think, yep, Ray's a proud FSC participant, and he runs a stellar operation. And Tony Bull as an example as well, and one of the the original folks involved in all this. I could go on and on. There's just lots of signs and more all the time. And recently getting the city of Mississauga in, I mean, that's great. We want the bigger forest owners, the bigger municipalities and conservation authorities and community forests, but we want lots of the little folks too, the folks that have the 30, 50, 100 acre woodlots to join and be part of this. And yesterday I was in an event in Oxford chapter down near St. Mary's, a place called Lakeside, and those folks there were FSC certified, and one of the nicest managed woodlots I've ever seen, managed for all values, beautiful wetland restoration, full MIFTIP plan. The way FSC complements MIFTIP and what our members really want to do, and it's such a low cost per year, it just to me is such a no-brainer to get this program going for a lot more people, and a lot more people should want it. So I just say kudos to you, Glenn, and everyone that's involved, and thanks. It's a great legacy of many with the model forest, and we'll keep making it strong and building it and growing it. And thanks everybody.
Thanks a lot, John. Yeah, I'm really thankful, that I get to work in this position. All those people, I'm the benefactor of that all that hard work, and I get this great job, and I think a lot of us here are fortunate to, when you go to a social event and you talk with your friends and your colleagues and you tell them what they do, what you do and what they do, and geez, I kind of want to do what you do every day. I don't know if I want this job anymore. And so I'm in that fortunate position because of the hard work that everybody else here has done. So thank you very much. And I just, I really wanted to bring that attention to the high quality work that goes on in our group. This was a recertification audit that we just went through. And as far as I'm concerned, the auditor had a few minor quibbles, there was really nothing for them to complain about, but lots for them to say, holy smokes, you guys are doing fantastic. And Martin mentioned the difficulty of managing so many people, but all those people are our strength. I think every day of the audit, the auditor mentioned how much better we are as a group and how strong our group is and how much we educate each other and work together in fulfilling not just the FSC principles, but just that support that helps forest owners and forest managers do what they do. It really is fantastic what goes on. And so, I was going to go through some of the quibbles that they have, but really I'll just leave it at that. We had some administrative issues from our last audit that we closed. This year, again, we'll close those little minor issues that they have, but I would say that these activities, they don't affect forest values. They have not affected any benefits to the community or the benefit to workers working in the forest. And so it really is great to work with people who work to such a high standard. I say it again and again. I tell it to John, I tell it to anybody who will listen, I'm blown away by the dedication and the skill and resourcefulness of the community forest managers and their staff in our group, down to every last one. I'm not going to name names because, inevitably we'll leave somebody out, but I would, every single person that I meet is so dedicated, does such a fantastic job. And to say that they're highly capable is an understatement. And that's not just me. I've heard other people after they visit these certified forests say the exact same thing. And forest certification helps ensure that, but it's also a way for getting that recognition that everybody deserves. The same is true for our private forest owners. They're highly dedicated to their land and to stewardship and to learning. And they take certification incredibly seriously and are very proud to be certified. If I ask for volunteers or some help, I'm overwhelmed with the number of people that put up their hand and say, yeah, I'll be part of an audit, or yeah, sure, you can come and visit my property. No problem. Anytime you want to come, let's go for a walk. So it's, I would ask that everybody here take some time to reflect on what we've accomplished together over the past, say, 23 years, and that all the little actions, the successes, the frustrations have amounted to something quite meaningful and quite important. And that not only is the good forest management ensured on your land, but because of our group, because of our influence, we improve forest management on other lands too. So when Mississauga becomes certified, their certification has led to further discussions with other landowners, other municipalities, because they've done that. Same with the town of Oakville, same with Halton Region. I'm getting calls from municipalities in the GTA about this, and conservation authorities about this, because they see others doing it. And so we can use that to leverage the certification of one forest to do better work on other lands. So I just wanted end and just say there's a couple of new tools and some new value that we have that we're rolling out to the group. I mentioned Olivia, who's an excellent resource, and she's going to help me raise the profile of the program through articles and social media and relevant publications. And by connecting, I've mentioned this to our community forest managers, but I'll mention it again. We're going to put out a press release about this, about a recertification. We're going to craft some social media posts. Olivia can work with your communications people to give them a little package that they can then share with your communities. So lowering the workload for you and for your communications people, that's something that Olivia is there to help with. And so you connect her directly with your communications people, and she will get this job done, making sure everybody's in the loop. She's also helped me develop a communications toolkit, along with a communications consultant that we worked with. And so it is language for your website and suggestions for developing content. And this is another selling feature that I use when I'm talking with other forests. We help you, we support you, the group, these tools. And then finally, we've developed a log buyers distribution list, mostly for our community forest managers, but forest owners are welcome to use that as well. Look for an announcement in the next couple of weeks. And that will hopefully, our goal is to improve markets for our timber, while making sure that all that control of forest management still remains in the hands of our forest owners. So we're right at 10 o'clock. Look at that, bang on. I'm happy to stay and answer any questions. If anybody has any comments, I'm happy to hear them, but I understand some people probably have to leave. But other than that, I'll say thank you for coming, and let's keep working together and doing this great work. And I look forward to coming to work in the morning. So thank you everybody.
Thanks, Glenn.
Okay. So